Hello there, this is Rom Wills coming back at you with yet another video. Experience is the best teacher. Experience is the best teacher. Because one of the things I've seen with a lot of young men, and especially men who hit me up, they'll hit me up or say like, well, how do I do this? Or how do I make the women do this? And it's just like, yes, I can provide a perspective and some general tips, but you still got to go out there and do the work for yourself and find out what works for you. Let me give a great example. Basketball. Now you can go to a basketball camp and they can teach you how to dribble and get your footwork together and all the basics, how to rebound properly and all of that. But at the end of the day, yes, they can teach you those basic skills, but then you still have to go out and develop those skills. You still have to go out and see what works for you best. Now, okay, the basketball thing. Yes, in a basketball camp, they can show you every little thing, but then when you go play in the game, and it could be just a pickup game, you gotta figure out what works for you. Like playing in basketball. Like anybody who's played know everybody got a different shot. You know, some people, their game, their shot is like taking it to the basket. You know, I've known some guys, like I remember this one guy when I was in school, he could take it to, like just playing intramurals, he could take it to the basket, but he couldn't shoot worth anything. But he get out on a break, it was all over. And then you got another guy, shoot, he can't take it to the basket, but he can pop threes all day. That's his shot. Or somebody else could post up, that's his shot. Or somebody else's game is just taking a shot here and there, but stopping the other man from taking it. See, everybody has to develop. Yes, you can get all the general skills, but you have to go out and develop it. It's the same thing with, game or what anybody in these spaces will tell you. Yes, we can tell you everything, but you got to see how it works for you. You know, I'm known for body game. I'm saying, hey, get yourself in physical shape and all of that. But you still got to see how it works for you. And I've talked about charisma. You still have to have the social skills. But, I can tell you that, but you have to go out and work on it. Let me use a basketball example again. Yes, you can be given the skills, but then you got to practice. You got to practice. Then that's any sport. If you're a receiver, you have to practice getting the ball thrown to you and catching it under different circumstances. If you're a quarterback, you have to practice throwing and reading defenses and everything and throwing different types of passes. Same thing when you learn about, man gets woman. Yeah, I could say whatever any other considered dating coach could say whatever, even though I said technically I'm more of a sex coach. Or even with the sex thing. Oh, that's even a great example. That's a great example. You still gotta practice. Like you got some guys, I know some guys out there, they can tell you all about tantra and sets of 9 and all of that stuff. It's like, well, how many women have you had sex with? Well, I really haven't had sex. You know all the stuff. Like you got some guys, they can read all the books on it and say, what good is it? Because I'm going to tell you something now. You can read all the stuff about it. You can watch some amateur porn and all of that. But when you go into that 90, it's a very different experience, And that's the same thing. Because the thing is, okay, let's go back to that whole, game thing. You could say, well, like a lot of guys ask me, well, what can I say to the woman? And, I always tell them no magic words. But other guys will say, well, if you do this, you do this. Okay. You go out there and do it and it don't work. Now what? Because at the end of the day, you got to see what works for you. When I talk about the body game, I also talk about drip. What kind of clothes are you wearing? That works for you. What's your haircut? That works for you. You got to see which haircut works for you. What type of clothing works for you. Even in your conversation with a woman, you got to figure out, okay, how do they respond to me best? What tone of voice do I have? What am I talking about? All you can do is do the experience. Basically, you have to do the work. You have to go out there and do the work. And then that's the best teacher, because then you figure out what works for you. Because like I remember one time, and I've had a couple guys say that, say, hey Rom, I want to be like you. Or I even had one guy, he said, you know, he tries to talk to women using my same intonations and stuff. He actually said it worked, but then I said to him, I said, dude, but you still got to be yourself. You know, you got to be authentic. You don't want to win somebody trying to be me, because you're not me. You don't know what works for me. First of all, stuff works for me because, yes, I might say something, and yes, I might speak a certain way, but the woman also is looking at me physically, you know, and then it's also the circumstances. And then really it comes down to what we're talking about. Same social class or same experiences, something that we can click on. All of those things go in there. And for every single man is individual. You have to find what works for you, you know, specifically. Now you can get a perspective from me, but then you got to go out and say, okay, does this work? Just like in basketball, somebody might say, hey, you hit those threes and stuff, but you know what? You might not be good from the 3-point range. You know what? You might have to take it in closer. You got to adapt to what works for you, you know, because it's going to be different. Let's use the height thing, because people always making a big deal, but let's be real with it. It does, women paying attention to it. So if somebody 6'3" says, well, just, you know, say this, this, and this, well, it works for them because they're 6'3". Now somebody 5'7", you know, they're going to have to adjust some stuff. They can't use the height thing to their advantage. So they might have to have a better mouthpiece. They might have to be more muscular. See what I'm saying? So you got to see, okay, what works? What do I need to adjust? You know, where do I need to hunt at? You know, that's part of it too. You know, because a lot of guys say, well, what do women say? Or what can I say to the woman? First of all, women are different. There's several things. Every single one got a different personality. Indeed, even sexually, women's vaginas are not shaped the same way. So even then, even if you say, well, if you do this, well, you don't know. Some women got, you know, that'll be like a little bit more pronounced. Some barely had one, you know. Their clit sizes are going to be different. Everything. It's so many little things. You know, so that's one thing. That's on just a primal level. But then if you're talking about different social classes, different religions, different races, different regions, where you located at, you know, like, you know, the other week I was down in Atlanta for the Self-Improvement Summit. There's a vibrational difference between how the women in Atlanta were and the women in the Baltimore area. See what I'm saying? So you got to say, all right, your experience, you got to switch up things. You got to say, okay, what works here? Because I'll tell you now, what works in one region with some women don't necessarily work with the other region. See, that everything goes in there. But the only way you're going to know that is you go out, you experience. What did I say to people? Go out, find out what works and what doesn't work. You know, you have many men who promote traveling. It's a very different rhythm if you're dealing with women in a certain country, you know? You know, you got some places like in the Caribbean and South America, the women are more open sexually. They might not give you any, but they're more open, you know? They are more open in the sense of, you know, they'll be more sensual around you. Now, like I said, it don't necessarily mean they're going to drop their drawers for you, but you know, they ain't gonna be squeamish. Meanwhile, you go someplace else where it's more repressed and you openly sexual, shoot, they might look at you funny. But only way you're gonna know this is you get out and you experience it. So I want y'all to think about those things. I want y'all to really think about those things. Like you can listen to me. I'm not saying, and I've said this before. Yes, listen to what I have to say, but then go apply it and see if it works for you. And if it doesn't work for you, I have no shame or I don't feel bad if you say, well, Rom, I tried it. I tried what you said. It didn't really work for me. I'll say, okay, you got plenty of other guys on here that approach it different. One of them might resonate with you. I'll probably even, depending on the situation, I might even recommend who else to go to. And I have no problems with that. It's different dojos. It's different dojos, different styles. And I've said before, your style, you know, go for the teacher who reflects your personality the best. Because me, I'm mostly about attraction. I'm bigger on that. But then somebody might say, well, you know, I don't have that body that stands out. Okay, talk to the, you know, learn from the person who focuses more on communication. But whatever the case, you have to go out and experience it. You got to put it into practice, okay? So remember that experience is the best teacher. So anyway, I want to thank y'all for listening, and I'll get back with y'all tomorrow. Peace and blessings.